Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the Overtime Podcast, and I'm one of your hosts, Brandon White, aka Mr. White. And on most of these podcasts, you will see me and hear me with my other host, Jason Perry, aka Mr. Black. Together, we make up the Overtime Podcast, starring Mr. Black and Mr. White. Now, before we get started, make sure you guys check out the website, theovertimepodcast.com. That's the OVA time podcast.com. That's our website where we'll have all our fan information. We'll have these podcasts, these video blogs. We'll have other blog posts that we'll write about, including one on Black Lives Matter today. Check us out on Twitter at Overtime Podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Overtime Podcast. The podcast and anything we do will all be available on the website first. So please go check it out there. Go to our Facebook page. You can get through it through myself, Brandon White. Look for it, the Overtime Podcast. So we're gonna get right into it. I don't want to take too much of your time. We're gonna do these daily, where we're gonna have brief conversations that we want to go back and forth with you guys on. So make sure that you are listening to everything we say, and then going on Facebook and responding back. We'll post them to the Overtime Podcast page. You guys make sure you go on there and like the page so that you'll be able to be up to date with the newest content. Go in and comment on those sections, and if you have an opinion, let us know. We'll of course go back and forth with you guys. We have no problem with that. So we're looking forward to it. Today one will be, we understand, will be a little controversial because of how people feel about the Black Lives Movement. So hey, I'm gonna get right into it. All right, so today's podcast is gonna be on Black Lives Matter. We stated that, and how the new age athlete is more vocal than in the past. Recently, we've seen what happens and what appears to be an onslaught of police and civilians, basically letting it be known that it's open season on blacks, and we'll address that on an article again on the website. But from Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, to two stories in the past week. What's different about the movement is that superstars have now gotten involved. See, in the past, we didn't have very many examples of our athletes, or of our great athletes especially, coming in and backing the causes for fear of retribution or fear of reciprocity, and they understood that they didn't have the power. But today's athlete has a whole lot of power, with Nike and with several endorsement companies coming in and saying, you know what, we're for you guys. We got you guys. So they're more financially stable than they have been in the past. And they also control most of the leverage with their companies. The Cleveland Cavaliers can't get rid of LeBron James because of the fan retaliation. They know what that will cause. And so, but LeBron James can pick up and leave anytime he wants to because he has the power. We didn't have that in the past. Players like Jim Brown didn't have any power, but Jim Brown risked everything to make sure he stood up for what he believed was right. I can go back to LeBron James when he was with the Miami Heat, when Trayvon Martin, he had the whole Miami Heat put on their hoodies, and they all stated, "We are Trayvon Martin," and you had the with the Michael Brown situation, you had the "Hands Up, Don't Shoot" by the St. Louis players. You had them. You had several basketball players wearing the "Hands Up, Don't Shoot" T-shirts. You had the Los Angeles Clippers with their players wearing black over their Clipper uniforms because they had the owner who was a bigot. And you see all these different examples of athletes taking charge and saying, you know what, we have a voice and we're going to let it be heard. And that wasn't the case in the past. And funny, it's actually the opposite of how it was, because in the past you couldn't say anything for fear of problems. Now, if you don't say something, you're looked at as the problem because of Jim Brown called out Kobe Bryant on the Arsenio Hall show, where he basically said, you know what, Kobe, you haven't used your platform correctly. You have sat quiet on so many issues. And he basically called the guy an Uncle Tom. I don't agree with that, but he basically called the guy an Uncle Tom, saying, listen, you didn't grow up like us. You grew up in Germany or whatever. You didn't grow up around a lot of black people, so you don't understand the severity of the issues, or you don't understand what you're doing is wrong and how you need to use that the right way. Another person who didn't do it either was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan never used his platform because he was afraid that he would lose out on endorsement dollars. And Michael Jordan, you could tell, or everybody knows, is one of the most powerful athletes of our generation. It was known that what was it, Harvey Gantt, the Democratic mayoral candidate in Charlotte, in his hometown, was looking for an endorsement. They asked him about it, and he was like, "No, I can't say anything because Republicans buy shoes too." And that's crazy that he can say something like Republicans buy shoes too, simply because he didn't want to kill his endorsement dollars. Now LeBron James can come out saying that, and he doesn't care at all whether two people leave or not, because he understands that for the most part nobody's going anywhere. And that's a great position that we have put ourselves in, and that's a great position that he has put himself in. So, my question today, guys, is simply, how do you want your athlete to be? Do you want your athlete to be vocal, speak out on social issues? Do you want him to dial back and just shoot the basketball? I don't want to hear anything else. Leave that to the social leaders, leave it to Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and all these other people who we've appointed to be civic leaders for us, and let those guys handle that. You just simply play basketball and entertain me. I didn't come to the game to hear you talk about Trayvon Martin. I didn't come to this game to hear you talk about Eric Gardner. I came to this game to see you play the basketball, and that's it. And that's how you feel. Cool, I understand that too. So what I want to know is exactly how you feel. Let us know on Facebook and on Twitter, on the website, or whatever, exactly how you feel about it. I'm gonna give you my opinion before we get out of here. And simply, my thoughts is, with great power comes great responsibility. I know it's all the line from the Spider-Man movies, but it's true. Because you've been given this platform as an entertainer, as an athlete, and a person who's put on a pedestal, then you have to use that platform correctly. You have to use that platform for good, and you have to make sure that you constantly are speaking out on social issues, and that you are constantly stepping up, and when it's needed, that you provide some type of feedback with what's going on, because people want to know how you feel. But it's not just important that you provide the feedback, but that you give the right feedback. I was watching TV the other day, and there's a show called Friday Night Tykes, and there was a coach who had some of his players. I don't know if they were on a water break. It was before practice, and he had like 6 or 7 of his players just kind of sitting on the bench, and he was like, "Hey guys, who all got girlfriends?" And some of them said yes, some of them said no. But then there was one kid. He was the best one on the team. He said, "No, I don't have a girlfriend." He said, "I'm focusing on my education. I don't have time for girls." Coach looked him dead in his face, squinted up his face, and called him a lame. Told him he was lame for not having a girlfriend and for worrying about education. He can worry about education later. He need to be trying to figure out how he can get these girls. That's what the coach said. National TV. That's what was said. That to me is how you use your platform for the wrong. As a coach, he needed guidance. He needed somebody to tell him, you know what, you're the one who's doing it right. You're the one who's focused on education. You may not always be able to play football, so you need to have that education. But instead, he did the exact opposite. He told him, man, forget the education, go get the girls. And that's what I'm saying. So I do think it's very important that players like Marshawn Lynch, who play the game with a passion, he influences my son all the time, because my son plays running back as well. And so he wants to play like him on that field. So when he sees him running through tackling, he sees him giving everything he got, and he really just here because he want to play football, he don't need the extra. That's how he is. And so he is taking that same approach. You know what? I'm just here so I don't get fined. Not really, but he's taking a business-like approach to the game by watching him perform on the field, that he shows up every single game, and he understands he can't take games off. And so that's the way that he's taught him. So there are good examples in situations that we don't see. So again, my opinion in this situation is simple. We absolutely they absolutely have to use their platform for the right reasons. Now, I'm actually gonna turn the page. I'm gonna talk about something real quick. I'm gonna give you basically a brief preview on exactly how the story is gonna go, or how the article is gonna go on the website, because I want you guys to make sure you go read it, man. It's lengthy, but it explains so much, man. And the title of it is Black Lives Matter, and then it's dot 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 we do question mark. So going all the way back to the beginning, what sparked this was the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm kind of through with the Black Lives Matter movement. And to be honest, I don't know if I really ever was on board. And here's the reason. Here's the why. And I explain it in much more detail on the website. But a lot of times, the media, and primarily Fox News and other mediums, will do this diverting of attention, where they'll wait till tragedy in the black community comes about, and then they'll say, well, y'all can't argue because y'all killing each other. And you know what? That's just a ploy that they use in order to divert attention. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be outraged when a cop kills an unarmed black man, or kills any unarmed man. But what I will say is, why does this officer feel like he can? Why does this officer feel like he has the need to? And it's because Black lives, as we have put it, as it has been, doesn't matter to him. And so we're doing the movement of Black Lives Matter, but the problem is we haven't addressed the why. In my article, I'm addressing the why. Go check it out, go read it, and understand that it's not enough to say Black Lives Matter, but again, it's a matter of us knowing that Black Lives Matter based on our actions. I'm gonna leave you with this, and I close out the story like this as well. I've never had a friend or anybody get in my car and I said, you know what, man, respect my car, respect my couch, respect my seats, respect my house. People walk in the house, they see my shoes by the door, they take their shoes off by the door. I don't have to tell them to take their shoes off. They take their shoes off. Why? Because they see that I took my shoes off. I respected my crib enough so that they know when they come in, I have to respect that crib. It's the same thing in the same thing in the black community. Once until we start respecting each other, the police officers and the people who's supposed to be the authorities will never see us as respecting, will never be able to respect us, and then our lives really will never matter until we start respecting and mattering to each other. That's a brief summary. Again, I'm gonna go into more detail. I have some examples from people on both sides of the from races and from people who are and from people who on our side as well. Both make interesting points. I'm gonna tie it all together. Go check it out, the overtimepodcast.com. Holla at your boy. It's Mr. White. Let's go.